Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. Use code DNVR when you sign up. I'm your host, Rudo, joined as always by AJ Haefele, our DraftKings pick of the week. You can go bet on Mikko Rantanen to win the Rocket, plus 1,400 right now. He's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to Matthews. Rantanen at 7 goals. Matthew currently leading the league at 11. But doable. If he keeps up the way he was playing early in the season, the Rocket could potentially be in his future. Why not? 14-1. Get a chance to take your money with Mikko. AJ, on today's show, we're going to be discussing everyone's favorite trade target, Sam Bennett. For the few of you looking for where Landeskog is, we'll get to him later, either this week or maybe next week. We will talk about that topic, but y'all really wanted to know about Sam Bennett, so here we are, gonna talk about it, gonna see how he fits on the Avs.
The Landeskog thing was born of a Twitter conversation that kind of blew my mind, where it was like, Landeskog is bad and the Avs should not re-sign him.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me, but we'll have that conversation another day. We'll put it that way.
There we go. Now we're back to normal, guys. You guys can stop freaking out.
We fixed it, okay? It's fine.
You guys might change. You guys might change less than I do.
Yeah, just struggling with our camera images there. That swap is exactly what the Avs are going to do with Sam Bennett and JT Compher, right? That's what's going to happen.
I don't know that it's about JT Compher so much, but
yep.
We'll get into it, man. That's what we're here for. Sam Bennett. We want to talk about him, and he's been on the market, and I think there are a lot of misconceptions about why that is right now. So before we start, I would love to ask the chat. What do you guys know about Sam Bennett? What do you know about him right now that makes you think he would be valuable for the Avalanche?
All right, chat. We need some good answers here. Not necessarily. I don't. Assuming Francouz isn't dead forever, the Avs don't really need a goalie over Sam Bennett. Okay. I know he plays for the Flames, and he's got a sick mustache. Is what we got. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. We're off to a good start.
Played for the France in the Q or in the O.
He's a good old Canadian boy with a heart of gold. All right, there Don Cherry checking in.
Stepping it up.
He wears 93.
Sponge Mock bringing all the grit.
Okay.
A very unsure depth scoring, question mark?
Nice. He's slapping the puck. All right.
Confident. People are confident in Sam Bennett's hockey skills.
Okay. Joe's 2.0. Interesting. Plays with sandpaper. We're starting to get somewhere here.
Wears an ugly helmet.
Okay, well, he plays for the Flames, so he wears an ugly uniform every game.
A playoff performer call there.
Okay, we've got some Googling going on here.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal.
All right. So are you guys ready for AJ to enlighten you now?
No, it's not like that, man.
It's a little bit like that.
I just wanted to know what the consensus around who Sam Bennett is, because when I see the conversation, it's a lot of, oh yeah, a Sam likes that his name is Sam. So
adds up.
I'm a big fan of this. Okay. So I don't have to do as much untangling as I thought, because a lot of the conversation is, oh, the Avs can go get him and he can replace JT Compher as the 3C. So let's start right there with Sam Bennett's not playing center.
Never been a center.
Has been previously, has not been there for
not
a while.
Not in the NHL. Yeah.
So I think his
there for like
year,
2 weeks, and that was it.
But
it was not good.
Yeah, he is right now. He's playing next to Mikael Backlund. Last year, he was playing next to Derek Ryan. He's not a center. Like this is a thing. If you go and read the piece that will be up after the show there's a link in there to a radio hit that Elliot Friedman did where he talks about Colorado's interest in Sam Bennett, which is really the jumping off point for this whole damn thing. But Caleb, we know you'd rather have Ryan Reeves. You'd rather have Ryan Reeves over anybody. We know. But the idea that he's a center, let's just move this out of here. Because Friedman even says in his radio hit, he's like, well, he's a center. Those guys are more valuable. He's not. Let's just move on. Mikko as a center for the first 6 games of his career with Borna Rendulic on his wing. Good times.
Good times is not the word I would use, but okay. So, Sam Bennett's not a center. He's coming out of Calgary. His production isn't anything special, but realistically, the Avs are probably targeting a bottom 6 player anyway here.
Yeah.
What
this would be the other thing?
Okay.
Not a guy that you're getting and being like, here we go. Yeah. Like, this guy's going to have a huge breakout.
It's not an upside bet, sure. It's someone
not in that way. Not in the way that like you know that somebody that doesn't know a lot about him is going to be like, "Oh, he was drafted 4th overall. I bet there's some untapped potential there and a fresh start could help him achieve that potential that he hasn't hit in 6 years." So let's not with that. Let's just assume that Sam Bennett is who Sam Bennett is going to continue to be. And that there is not some huge breakout coming. Okay?
Agreed.
Let's operate under that assumption right now that we're not having this conversation about some hidden upside. You know, maybe lightning strikes and, you know, you never want to say never because you just don't know. But yes, the guy's rookie year was his best year as a 19-year-old. And it's the only time he's broken 30 points. He had a 36-point rookie season. And then he's been pretty consistent from there. 26, 26, 27. He fell off hard last year with the 12-point year, and he's only got 2 points through 11 games this season. So, again, not talking about a ton of offensive upside here. The other things that we're not talking about with Sam Bennett, he's not a specialist. Again, he's not a center, so he's not taking faceoffs.
Yeah, you're not asking him to be something extremely special. I don't think in any regard, honestly. When it comes to the Colorado Avalanche, you're asking him to be an improvement, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get to why this is why this is even a conversation. But first, we want to talk about what Bennett is and what Bennett isn't.
Appreciate the $2 there, Spence. We'll talk about that in a bit.
All this money you're spending on super chats, you could have just spent on a WoW sub and be playing games with us, dude.
Exactly, straight up.
I don't understand how you have $2 every day for super chats, but you don't have $15 in a month to play games.
So, expectations then are, what is Sam Bennett going to? Well, actually, before we get to what he would bring to the Avs, what is he bringing in Calgary right now? If we know his production has been moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Production not great. Not a face-off guy, so it's not an argument that you can make there. He is 6th on the Flames, I believe. I have to pull back up my list here.
All of his ridiculous statistical deep dive he's got over here on his notepad.
Yeah, he is. I don't remember. Okay, yeah, there it is. So right now he's 9th on the Flames in power play time on ice and 6th in shorthanded time on ice per game.
Okay, so not really power play.
You're not getting a guy.
Maybe some limited PK time. Yeah,
put on the power play or the PK. This is not a guy that you're getting to play any kind of specific role. This is not like when the Avs signed Belmar and it was like PK face-offs. We don't care that he scores 15 points.
Yep.
We ask him to score 15 points, and this is fine. Okay? So these are all the things that Sam Bennett isn't doing right now, which all have added up to this is why the 24-year-old is available in the first place. He wants a larger role. He wants an opportunity to go somewhere else to get some fresh eyes on his game, to try and do something. Now, what Sam Bennett has done is he is a physical presence. This is a guy that, will satisfy the Avs need to get grittier crowd.
Definitely. As we have in the chat, another $5. Thank you, Vaguely Sober. If everyone who's ever listened to the DNVR Avalanche podcast chips in $5, we'd be able to pay Sam Bennett's salary. Fun fact.
Maybe Jost's salary.
I mean, everyone ever, all time.
Yeah, okay.
I think we'd probably get up to Sam Bennett.
I feel like we might have a chance.
Yeah. The guys who listened to 30 seconds and never came back, if they put in $5, maybe we'd make it to Sam Bennett. But
that'd be awesome. Also, why would you want to listen to 30 seconds of one episode?
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't get a vibe at all. But
if you have an interest in the Avs at all, it's like you'd at least give it an episode, right? Like a whole one, and not be like, I can't listen to this. I don't know. That's just weird to me. Anyway,
speaking of Sam Bennett's salary, he is currently getting paid roughly $2.5 million, and his contract will be up as an RFA at the end of this season.
Yeah.
So that is something to consider. Given his current production and the situation with the salary cap, there's a very real possibility that his next contract would be cheaper than his current one.
I mean, right about where they are.
Yeah. Wouldn't expect much change at the very least.
There's not going to be a whole lot of room for a raise there. Just yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll just go with that. We'll say 2.5 is right in the area.
So, despite his contract being up at this year, there's at least some level of contract, or I guess value security here. You know roughly how much you're going to be paying this guy going forward if you were to acquire him.
Yeah, and so it's not a major consideration. Getting him would have to be money in, money out. They would have to send money back the other way of some kind.
For sure.
He makes basically the same money as Matt Calvert. I doubt that would interest Calgary.
Can't imagine that it would.
Probably have to be a Comfer or a Jost, and to be honest, he's cheaper. It would probably have to be Jost.
Yep. I think that's probably reality, and we can get into that conversation a little bit more and more accurately some of Sam Bennett's effect on the ice in a period 2. But first, we have Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. I always have a hot peak on hand, and it always messes with my green screen, but you can kind of see the name there. You can pick up a hot peak, or you can head on over to their website for Vanillatine's Day, get the half-bake harvest, get the vanilla porter. You can head on down to the DNVR bar and get 8 different kinds on tap as well. Delicious Breckenridge brew all over the place. Use the Breck Beer Locator online to find it at a local liquor store near you. And we also have Chevalier Mortgage. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business for quite a long time now. You can head on over to dnvrmortgage.com to get yourself set up, not only with a free consultation to talk about your home loan, but also for a Oh, yeah, free DNVR merch. That's right. That's what I forgot about. You can win free DNVR merch from Chevalier Mortgage just for heading on over to their website and signing up. I'm sure you've probably heard about the great mortgage rates that are out there right now, but Mike and Virginia are not your typical mortgage company. Sure, they do have those phenomenal rates, but what makes them different is that Mike is a certified financial planner and looks to so much more than just the rate when designing your home loan. Again, they're a small family business. They're local, just like us here at DNVR. Supporting our partners is supporting us. So head to dnvrmortgage.com or call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578 to get all set up. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. AJ had to step out for just a second. He will be back in a minute. But talking about Sam Bennett today, it's an interesting conversation. When AJ gets back, we'll dive into some of the advanced statistics. But the reason Sam Bennett becomes interesting is he helps round out what the Avs are developing. And sure, let's start with Jost for Sam Bennett. The conversation here is, if you are bringing on Sam Bennett, the assumption is you're going to bring him on to then follow up by protecting him in the expansion draft, right? If you're bringing him in for JT Compher, it's going to create this situation where you have to make a decision of, you're either exposing probably Tyson Jost or Val Nichushkin to protect Sam Bennett, or you're exposing Bennett, which you could do, but it's kind of illogical to trade for a guy that's an RFA that can remain on your team to then just turn around and expose him in the expansion draft. So if you do end up trading him for Jost, that's one way that the Avs can make this work as far as protection is. We're operating under the assumption that they want to protect Jost. Sam Bennett can kind of slip into that role. But again, expecting things in the expansion draft can be tough, but you make it work a little bit easier with Tyson Jost, and it makes sense, obviously, for Calgary to get a younger player with upside, some potential there. Wanting to trade Sam Bennett for Sam Bennett doesn't really make any sense for Calgary. So that's concerning, vaguely sober. I maybe we shouldn't go to the expansion draft now, or whoever's working the cameras at the expansion draft, be sure to catch Vaguely Sober doing that for the memes. Anyway, working on Sam Bennett getting into effective time on ice, as AJ is back here. AJ, are you ready to dive into why Sam Bennett actually makes sense? I can't unmute you. You're muted.
Nice. Let's basically, the on-ice impacts are exactly the kind of thing that they look for.
Sure.
You look at what he's doing right now in Calgary. This is actually his last year in the 50 games that he played in arguably his least effective year with Bennett on the ice. That plus 7% is pretty good. It's not crazy. It's not like, holy crap.
And look at the effective areas of the ice, right? Like,
yeah,
most of his shots, production, or expected goals is getting generated in the slot area where you would like a grinder to get in there and do the work.
Yeah. It's all of that is good. And then if you look at the offense without him, it's still pretty good. Like, Calgary's offense is just a little bit above average because that's where the baseline percentages are coming from, is league average. Relative to league average, with Bennett, they're at a plus 7%. Without him, they're at a plus 3%. So a little bit worse, but still pretty good. So Bennett, good, not great, not amazing, but a solid impact.
Does make Calgary's offense better when he's on the ice.
Right, drives play better. Now, if you look at the defense with Bennett, you're going to see something that you really like. First of all, it's a negative number, negative 2%. Not amazing. This is not like, oh my God, he's incredible, but good. This is solid.
Same kind of, or rather, the inverse of the offensive side, the big blue swath. He's preventing a lot of shots from the slot area.
Yeah. You have to like where these are good results. These are just good results. And then if you look at the defense without him, this is quite a bit different. Without Bennett at all on the ice, at plus 4%, they are below average. They're bad. It's a bad team defense. With Bennett, negative 2%. Not amazing, not going to knock your socks off, but these are the exact kind of analytical finds that Colorado has excelled at finding the last couple of years. Guys that other teams were looking to move on from for whatever reason, whether it be cap reasons, role reasons, disappointment, whatever. This is exactly the kind of profile that we have seen with guys like Burakovsky and Nichushkin the last couple of years.
Are you playing a little bit of money puck there?
Yeah, definitely. Because you're looking at, you're also looking at a guy that's 24 years old and is unhappy where he is. And it's obvious that relationship is fractured. There isn't really, you're not in love with what they've got going on.
Sure. I do have some questions about how the Avs can make him happy, but we can answer that in the third period. For now, I want to keep looking at his on-ice impacts for the Avs. Great. Last year, he did improve Calgary when he was on the ice. He made his team better, but 1 year of production, particularly a shortened year, I think Bennett only played in 52 games last year.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say that this is consistently what you can expect out of a player.
Yeah.
There needs to be a little bit more than that underlying, and I believe there is.
Yeah.
But
so if you look at his entire career, the entire career snapshot of his underlying numbers will tell you that this is a guy that consistently generates a little bit of offense. He drives play. He does a good job of driving play, and defensively, it's never elite. It never blows you away, but it's solid.
For sure. Consistency across the board, right, is something you're going to be looking for a depth addition. And if we have he's also a Sam. If we have Bennett's numbers here, you can see, I think, particularly on the offensive side over the last handful of years, he's really taken strides forward.
Yeah.
His lowest is this year at plus 3.8, and that's in 12 games or something. So
yeah, it's 11 games, and it's not there's clearly a problem there. Like he's not playing very well. He doesn't want to be there. This is one of those things when a guy's not committed to the cause, it shows. And
I mean, if he's not committed to the cause and still above average helping you impact player, you got to feel pretty good about it, given his last couple of years floating around that 5+ number offensively.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder, like, okay, what happens if he gets that fresh start? He gets into a role he's a little more he's a little happier with, and in a style that maybe fits his a little bit better. You know, he's not being asked to do something that maybe he doesn't want to do.
Sure.
That would be speculation on my part. What we do know is that he's unhappy and he wants a change. And when a guy wants out, he wants out. And It's very normal for there to be production dips from guys who are just like, please, can I just get the hell out of Dodge?
For sure.
And, Calgary, right now, it's really hard to move money. It's really hard to move anything in the league. So this is a tough spot to be in. This might not even be a thing that happens this season. This might be a conversation that's more appropriate for the summer when teams have a little bit more flexibility. They have a better idea of what the cap is going to be. Because Bennett is an RFA, because he's only 24, you are talking about this guy being somebody that you want to commit at least the next couple of years to. You at least want to get him into his UFA years.
Right.
And see, kind of how it's going to go for him. When exactly He hits UFA. I would have to actually double check, but he's 24. I think this is his 6th year in the NHL, so he would only have another year. Off the top of my head, he would only have one more RFA year.
Yeah, because he entered right away at 18, right? So yeah, 25 would be year 7. Yeah, here are his statistics for the current season, or rather his underlying impacts.
As you see, power play doesn't really exist. Penalty kill doesn't really exist. He's not really. He's just not playing enough to do anything on those units, as we talked about.
Yeah, but again, maybe +1 on the defensive side, not amazing, but not terrible, and then +4 on the offensive side, particularly for an Avs bottom 6 that has not produced particularly well outside of Jonas Donskoy this year. There are avenues to where you can start to see this make sense, but again, sticking to Sam Bennett, the hockey player right now, how effective is he? Is he a legitimate third-line player in the NHL? Not with the Avs, not with Calgary, just on average. Is this a third-line player?
I think so.
Okay.
I definitely think so. Yeah, I think that this is a guy he can get. You can reasonably expect him to give you 25 points and 10 to 12ish goals. You look at his shooting percentages in his career; they've been pretty stable. Career average is at 10.2, but right now he's at 6.3 this year. But all the other years, except for the one, he had one down year at 7. All the others have been right in the 10 or higher range.
Yeah. 9.8, 10.6, 11.3, had one career high year at 13.
Yeah, and at like 13, you're not talking about it's like 2 goals.
Yeah, and those are the maximums, right? Like realistically, he had 1 year at 13 and 1 year at 7 as the outliers of his career, and most of them, guess what, fall right in the middle at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, a reasonable expectation for him to shoot about 10% in his career. In a full season, he's regular, averaging about 120-ish shots.
Yeah.
Guys can give you 10 to 12 goals.
All of these are reliable indicators of a decent bottom 6 guy.
Yep.
The fact that he's not a center hurts his value to the Avalanche, hurts kind of the interest. But the Matt Calvert concussion, I think, is the key component of this conversation and where he fits on the Avs. I think the appeal is a gritty player, a hard-nosed player that brings a certain edge. We all like Val Nichushkin. We all appreciate what Val Nichushkin is and is not. One thing that he doesn't really do is he doesn't really impact the game physically.
Yep.
He uses his body effectively, but he's not out there. He's not going to be out there hitting and bringing kind of an edge to his game. He's a very quiet guy. And the one time that somebody challenged him to a fight,
he can't fight.
He got the shit kicked out of him. He stood there and just took punches. When you get speed bagged by somebody that badly at that size, nobody's really ever going to be afraid of you again. So Nichushkin just does not do that. And I think the appeal of Bennett is that he's a guy who you kind of get the offensive version of Bennett, or of Nichushkin. You get a decent defensive player, but you get more of a play driver. Nichushkin's not as much of a play driver as he is like a play preventer. He's more his appeal is more about the suppression.
He stops the other team. He doesn't force the puck the other direction.
Like the puck goes offensively because he takes the puck away from the other team and moves it that way, but he doesn't do much with it.
Sure.
Now you look at Nichushkin's offense last year, and hey, you look at the offense this year. Nichushkin has more points than Bennett does.
Yep,
3-2. The same number of games played. So it's not so much about improving Bennett or on Nichushkin as it is sort of recreating him. And because you don't need him to do the special team stuff, you can let Jost do that. You can let Nichushkin do that. What you do is you decide, hey, our bottom six is not going to have distinct third and fourth lines. They're both going to be third lines. And you bring him in and you drop him on the left side of either one of those units. I don't personally care which. Put him next to Tyson Jost, and you have two great play drivers, right? Next to each other, where you're really talking about a fourth line that is going to play more than most other fourth lines in the league.
Yep. You start to see a fit there when you talk about that gritty side. I do want to get more into this, but we do have to take our second period break with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. Yes, we already told you about the pick of the week, but if you want to get in on even more action, time to hammer the over for the Nuggets game coming up on Valentine's Day. Nuggets versus Lakers. I think we're basically done. Like, I don't think we can even hammer the over that much more than it was. The over was down to 34 points yesterday. So at this point, by hammering the over, you're just winning yourself free money by betting on this. So just go bet on the Nuggets Lakers over because they're giving away money. I don't know if it's to 0 yet, but that's the goal. We want to get the over to 0 points and see just how low it is capable of doing. For every 1,000 people that opt in, you get 1 point lowered on the over. Again, Sunday, 2:14 game, Lakers Nuggets. Jump on it, bet whatever you want on it because you're pretty much guaranteed to get your money back at this point and then some. So why not hammer the over? Hashtag hammer the over on social to spread the word. Go help everyone win some free money. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Use that DNVR code when you sign up to get a bunch of awesome bonuses, including up to a $1,000 sign-up bonus. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by that DraftKings Sportsbook. Rudo and AJ here. So we've started getting into the conversation of how he would fit with Colorado. We mentioned it earlier. What is a realistic price here? Is Tyson Jost 1-for-1 a realistic price?
Because of the cost involved, I think it would be close just because of the contracts. Sure. But the Avs, the Avs can't just take on salary like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing teams finagle LTIR in some mysterious ways, but sure.
Right. I think what Friedman said in the radio hit that kind of started all of this is that they want a player of a similar age and maybe a pick. And so
throwing a later round pick or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at Jost or you're looking at Compher, because Compher is a little closer in age. Jost is super young still.
Yep.
But if you're looking at Compher as kind of the guy, it's a little bit of money. It's a little extra money, but it's not onerous. And these are the last 3 years. I pulled these up just out of curiosity mostly. Sam Bennett against JT Compher. These couple of guys here.
Yep.
This is the 18-19 season where you see Bennett's got a little bit of the advantage there. Bennett has a little bit of the advantage here. Just a better underlying analytics guy. You have to think though that hey, Compher scores goals, man. He gets offense in a way that Bennett has not been able to.
You look at the defensive and relative teammate side though, and I think that's where you're starting to see Sam Bennett pull away from Compher, right?
Yeah.
His expected goal shares, the on-ice goals for expected, those are pumping up for Sam Bennett because of the effective defensive play.
Yeah.
Where he's not expected to give up as many goals as JT Compher on the ice.
Yeah. And then this year, where both guys, you would say that both guys haven't been very good. I tossed in a wave chart, which are great to look at, but oh my gosh, is that the slowest website in history?
I know, it takes so long to load in.
Yeah.
And as always, take small sample sizes with a grain of salt.
Yeah, both guys have played 11 games. Like, you gotta just kind of chill, So, I don't know if Kale has it somewhere back there.
Is it this one?
That's the one, the wave.
Yeah,
that's this year, and you see Confer's defensive metrics have been better. Bennett is driving more offense.
Yep,
pretty consistent with what we've talked about with Bennett's overall profile. He's gonna drive play offensively more than he's going to prevent it, but it's not that he prevents it at a bad level. This year has not been. He's not off to a great start. But it's not disastrous. It's not like, oh my God, this is a huge problem.
For sure. So is JT Compher a realistic target? Is there a way the Avs make this trade work, moving JT Compher then?
I mean they're right there age-wise, and if all they would need, and if they said, hey, that's not enough, we need an extra pick, I'd be a little annoyed. Compher has, he's a little more expensive, but he's also outscored Bennett most of their years in the league. And, Compher he does play center. This is a guy who's actually playing center.
Yep.
You can look at all of his underlying analytics and you can argue that he's not doing it particularly well. That's totally fair. That's a fair point. But he's also a guy that has some goal scoring ability and does play both special teams units consistently for Colorado. Again, not necessarily at a really high level, but does it. And teams value that. Teams look at that, especially a team like Calgary that likes to try hard. You do all of this. That is what I would like about this. It gets them out from under the Compher contract.
Yeah.
Not that it's particularly onerous. It's really not that bad. But it moves them out of that, and it gets them a guy in Bennett who plays kind of the profile that you want in the postseason. And to be honest with you, this is a dude that plays the kind of playoff game that Compher has a reputation for, but does not really live up to.
Here's the thing about Compher there, I think. Compher has the pesty vibe side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's after whistles, he'll face wash a guy, he'll do that little extra chip in to get on people's nerves. But during play, he's not the guy throwing out hits. He's not the guy that has that particularly physical side that a Sam Bennett would.
Right.
I do have a couple of extrapolating questions here. First of all, being expansion draft. If you're going out and getting Sam Bennett for JT Compher, the assumption is you're acquiring a player to protect him in expansion.
Yeah, and you would definitely do that because we've talked about this. Colorado, of their top 6, they protect 5 of them right off the top.
Yep.
Even though Landeskog's an expiring UFA, you don't get cute with that nonsense. You protect Landeskog, you don't protect Saad, and then that gives you 2 forward spots to protect.
So
you just protect Bennett. You just use one of them on Bennett and probably the other one on Jost. Or Donskoy.
So in
whichever one.
Yeah, either, whatever, it's fine.
To be honest, you would probably, in that case, you would protect Jost to save the money.
Right.
And then because then in this case, they've traded away Compher. They got rid of that 3.5. They've got to sign both Jost and Bennett this offseason. They could give them the same contracts that they gave to Nichushkin, give them right in the range of $2.5 million each, assuming that they each will produce offensively eventually to a 25-ish point pace across the regular season.
Right.
And then
Compher and Donskoy's contracts would cover that, yeah.
Well, and then Donskoy becomes prime expansion bait.
Yep.
And then if they were to lose that, that's 3.9. Then they've cleared out a little over $7 million between Compher and Donskoi's contracts, and they've spent $5 million re-signing Bennett and Jost.
Yep.
And then you have a bottom six with Bennett, Jost, and Nichushkin that you can kind of build around three guys with really strong analytics.
So my other question, and this is my big apprehension, and I know where this conversation is going to go, but I have to ask it anyway.
Hit me.
Martin Kaut, Shane Bowers, when you're talking about bringing in players to play those roles.
I don't know. I mean, the only reason that we're talking about this is because the Avs were looking into it.
Yep.
That's it. The Avs have had every opportunity to play both those cats, and they move on from it. We're excited about Logan O'Connor. We agree Logan O'Connor's earned a job. He should be able to do that. But Logan O'Connor has a long way to go before you can say that he's an NHL player to the caliber of even a Sam Bennett or a Tyson Jost.
Yeah,
he still has to prove it, all of it.
Logan O'Connor is not an everyday NHL player yet. Is he have a lineup spot right now? Sure.
Totally.
But if that dude plays 20 games without scoring, he's Sheldon Dries. It's a long way to go there, and I just wonder why spend $2.5 million on Sam Bennett when you could potentially give that role, as far as offensive production is concerned. Martin Kaut should be fully capable of providing you that.
I'm with you.
I know, but we have to bring up the counter argument.
I mean, you know that I would be all for it. And maybe what they do is maybe the Bennett. This is what, again, maybe the Bennett thing is an off-season conversation and not an in-season one. When he's an expiring RFA, and he doesn't want to re-sign another deal in Calgary, he waits all off-season, whatever. It's a lot easier to move guys. It will be a lot easier to move guys in the off-season than it is right now.
For sure.
When teams get out from under some of the constraints of the unexpected COVID cap. There will still be constraints league-wide, but they will have had a year to plan for it, so they won't be nearly as restrictive.
There's also the argument in that offseason that the Avs roster may be a little bit more clear on what spots are available, given the expectation that Calvert is out, Belmar is out. If you wait till post-expansion draft, you'll know which piece you've lost as far as the Avs are concerned.
Yeah.
Then you can, in my opinion, it's significantly easier to see if there really is room for Sam Bennett on this roster or not.
Yeah, and look, if all it's going to cost is JT Compher and
a fifth or whatever.
Yeah. Even if it's a middle prospect, like,
sure,
like you can at least see
or something
where you can at least see where the picture is starting to make sense.
Yep.
The question of, well, who plays 3C then probably just becomes Jost or Belmar.
Yeah.
Since it sounds like Belmar's on his way back, which major bullet dodged for him.
Yeah, I am legitimately surprised his knee isn't ruined.
Yeah, I was so worried that we just watched him play his last NHL game, and I was like, I was not happy about that. Yeah. So thrilled that Belly is feeling better, and it looks like he's on his way back.
Which, since we're in that topic, news also sounds like Devon Toews will be good to go when the Avs start practicing. Apparently, tomorrow.
Thursday.
It's Wednesday.
Shit. Tomorrow.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. I thought they weren't going to practice till Friday, but I guess they're practicing.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah, I know, but the NHL just makes up the rules as they go, it seems. Anyway, you can expect those three to be back, that being McKinnon, Toews, and Belmar. I saw a question in chat. The Avs won't be playing anyone if Vegas has to pause their season.
At that point, they'll probably just reschedule those Arizona and St. Louis games.
Yeah, right. Just put them in the gap that is suddenly opened up.
Yeah, if something happens with the upcoming Vegas weekend, you just reschedule Arizona and St. Louis on the fly and be like, okay, you guys can stop playing each other. So I think at the moment they're scheduled to play their seventh straight game.
7 games in a row for them. That's just nasty.
They will have played an entire playoff series. Yes, I love that idea. Invite San Jose to Tahoe. Free win, please.
The Avs need an outdoor win still, so they're 0 for 2 in that category. The Avs they're actually going to find a way to go this whole season without wearing the reverse retro, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what this is all about. They made an awesome jersey, and the universe doesn't want them to put it on.
Yeah,
we'll never be able to go back to the Avs regular Walmart blue helmets that they wear on their home kits now.
Ugh. Oh, the helmets are so bad. So yeah, I mean, wrapping up the Sam Bennett conversation, is there a conversation around Tyson Jost for the trade? Because I thought it made more sense to trade Jost than Confer, to be honest with you.
It's just money.
I understand.
It doesn't make sense for the Avs to do that because you have a guy that's in a legitimate, like he's in the middle of a breakout in a specialized role. Like he's replacing Belmar right now. So I would not. You've waited all this time for Tyson Jost to finally look good in a specific role, and now that he has, you want to move him. I would not do that personally.
Okay,
I would not do it for a more expensive version of Tyson Jost.
I mean, that's the one thing. The money is the question mark for me, right? Because especially if this is an off-season move, you're looking at Tyson Jost getting a raise.
Yeah,
is it more like
that the offensive production?
Yeah, right. If Jost continues to put up 1 point every 10 games, he's not getting a raise. But
right, he's going to have a 5-point season, and then he's getting another qualifying offer.
Yeah,
you don't give a shit what his analytics look like at that point. You need help.
Yep. So
I have not bought a new hat. I have not decided. I am in major need of some retail therapy right now. And this is the weirdest humble brag. And, I'm just not even going to say it out loud. I'm just not even going to say it out. Yeah, I'm not even going to say it out loud. All I'm going to say is I need some major retail therapy. And I am...
AJ's got a stimmy check burning a hole in his pocket right now, is what he's saying.
It's on my desk right in front of me. It went through, it hit the bank account, did the direct deposit through the phone and all that, and it's just like, I'm not buying an $80 hat. I don't care how many stimmy checks the government gives me. I am not buying a goddamn $80 hat.
Ooh,
at some point, there is a limit. So
I don't think AJ hates himself enough to buy a McLaren hat. I mean, there are choices you make in life. McLaren, not a good one. AJ,
somebody suggested an N7 hat yesterday, and it's like,
as if he didn't already have one.
Well, and it's I don't, but I have a Mass Effect tattoo, so it's like
covered that base permanently.
Yeah, I've won that shit. I got a $450, $500, I don't even remember anymore, tattoo, Mass Effect tattoo years ago. So AJ hats. We did hat suggestions yesterday on a Tuesday afternoon.
We got quite a few. Personally, I was a fan of the visor with hair, the like blonde haired wig visor, but I knew AJ would never go for that.
Visors. What am I, fucking golfer?
Yeah.
No, dude.
Exactly. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications so you can come on every show and tell AJ which hat to buy.
Yeah. I need some retail therapy too. So if there are other suggestions for people, for things that people are spending money on,
there you go.
Hit me.
The man needs.
Think they make Fire Emblem gear.
I bet they do in Japan, but probably not in the States. All right. On that note, we appreciate all of y'all being here, talking in the live chat. Hopefully we've convinced a few of you that Sam Bennett might be a reasonable option.
And it's funny, we just did 15 minutes on this, and my takeaway is I would not do it.
Yeah,
But if it happens, this is where the logic is. And especially when you consider how heavy a role the analytics department has played in a lot of these moves, where they get these guys that do something specific and they fit very specific roles in Colorado. It's how they've built their roster. It's how they identified guys like Burakovsky and Nichushkin and Taves anyway.
I'm not a particular fan of Sam Bennett's, but the underlyings are solid enough. The question for me here is, here's where I think Sam Bennett becomes valuable to the Avs. If you're moving JT Compher for him in a couple of months at the deadline or whatever, there's a real good chance the Avs are going to have a much better idea, or at least hopefully conversations have started with Cale Makar about how much you're paying him. Hopefully you have a solid idea of what Gabe Landeskog is going to be making, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a future show.
I'm just going to put this out there, but every time I have talked to somebody involved in that, I swear to God, they have a deal done.
Just waiting to sign it. Yeah.
They're just waiting to make sure that the salary cap is what they think the salary cap is going to be. But I every single time, and I've asked Sakic about it twice during press conferences, and both times, that's like as confident an answer as I've ever gotten out of that man about pretty much anything. He just does not seem even remotely worried about it, to the point where it is purely speculation on my part. So I want to be very clear about that. But the feeling that I've gotten every time I've tried to look into the Landeskog contract extension is that both sides are like
just waiting to sign the papers, basically.
We're pretty confident that we know where this is headed. And so I think that there's either they have an agreement or they have the framework of something, and they're just waiting at this point to make sure that the salary cap number is what they believe it to be. And because both sides just seem way too comfortable for this, because this. I mean, think about that. If this was Toronto, if this was Austin Matthews' last year, and he hadn't signed a deal halfway through the season or whatever, people would be freaking out. It's all they would be talking about. But instead, the Gabe Landeskog is going into free agency this summer. Right now, he has no deal signed, and it's not something that we ever talk about.
Yep.
Because both sides have expressed such confidence that something's going to get done. My personal theory here is that they already know what that deal looks like.
So maybe that information will be readily available. That is where JT Compher for Sam Bennett, the Avs save $1 million on that swap.
Yeah, and then $1 million immediately, and then whatever Bennett's next deal is, probably under 3.5.
Yeah, and then we have this really quick.
The one thing we did not talk about with the Bennett thing, his playoff performance.
Yeah,
the last 2 years in the playoffs. Okay, 8 points in 10 games in the playoffs last year. 5 points in the 5-game series against Colorado the year before. Also, and not that this is a meaningful statistic, just more of a holy shit kind of statistic, Sam Bennett had 54 hits in 10 playoff games last year.
Sam Bennett's playoff performance lives up to the reputation of JT Compher's playoff performance that isn't accurate.
Right. It 100%. Yes. Agreed.
All right. Vaguely sober. We'll end with your thing here. Where's Kira? We need Kira to show up because this is a hat made of denim. His recommendation for AJ here. Denim daddy style.
No.
Not feeling it.
That is the hardest pass.
All right.
No, that looks like underwear. The inside of that hat.
It does kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks like something that 100% looks like boxers.
All right. Well, AJ's not buying it, so one of the denim daddies in chat can go buy it. I appreciate all of you. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, however you consume. Highly recommend you do it on YouTube to be a part of this amazing live chat where we have conversations with them every single day, 5 days a week, plus post games whenever the Avs do start playing hockey again. We appreciate all y'all. We're out of here for this Wednesday, my dudes. We will talk to you again, maybe about Landeskog tomorrow.